Back to a new episode. Sorry if my voice does sound a bit distant. I'm trying to keep a bit away from the microphone so you don't hear so much of the ambient noises, but hopefully my voice will still be loud enough. Regardless, today I'm going to show you something. This is an XML serializer. This is very, very cool. For some reason text isn't showing. What? Okay, they're just bugging out for a reason. Anyway, so it's an XML serializer, and what's an XML serializer? Well, it's a... I was trying to explain it simply. Every time a game or a application saves something, they normally save it into a file. So, for example, let's look at, not you, no, close all, no one wants you. Let's look at, for example, Word. If we look at this, right, it's a docs file, but this is actually an XML file. They just called it docs because they encrypted it as a docs. Now, PowerPoint's the same and all the other stuff. So if we just I'll just show you right open it. PowerPoint, create a blank presentation, and we save it. We'll see that they don't have the question mark email. They normally used to say it. Regardless, these are by here. PowerPoint XML presentation. Well, they're all using XML, but it's just some are more reliant on XML. Just how they basically store their data. So, the biggest thing with XML is it's kind of a nuisance to see the first time you see it, but once I explain it, you understand. So this may seem really difficult, may seem really easy, but it's actually quite simple. The biggest difference here is that this really should be this. Whenever you're doing this like this, it should just be like this. It's known as... There's reasons why they don't do it like this, and they just do basically that, like this side here. This makes it much easier to see. So essentially, it's the exact same thing as HTML. So if you've ever done HTML, you basically understand how this works. So it's essentially it's basically built on a system called parenting. So we have our child nodes and our parent nodes. So this is child to this thing, and this is child to monsters, and monsters is child to our root. So our root is our very top, and it's called our monster array, and it basically holds a bunch of monsters. And then from there we have something called essentially a group of monsters. A group of monster is called monsters, obviously, right? So each individual monster, so we can copy and paste this. I'll show you what I mean, guys. It's called a monster. There you go. So look, we just made another monster, and he's got all his new data and everything like that. And that's called a monster. We could do as many of those as you want, and we could even have multiple monsters, multiple of these. You know, it doesn't really matter. The fact is that it's just how you want to set it out. So normally you may have an XML file for let's say we got a game and you got multiple grenades in it, but you want players to add their own grenades. But you could have a system like this. Instead of them having to go into the code or whatever and edit it, they could just add a new grenade. Copy and paste one's already made, change a few things, and there's the new grenade. Right, very, very simple, and they're very, very useful for, I call it, giving players modding ability without actually giving them modding ability. Especially with Unity, modding is a lot harder. Some games like CS Skylines do it very well. Most games can't really do it. It's got decent modding support, but you really have to build for it. Whereas XML is quite easy because, sure, you still have to build for it, like XML Serializer, but this is quite easy to see. It just serializes things and stuff like that. Sure, you have to build for it to a certain degree, but a lot of this stuff can be added at the very end without much impact in the game, because a lot of it is just loading in all the data, right? So you're going to load in that data from somewhere. It's just basically how you load it in. And there's quite a bit of scripts to this, quite a bit of stuff, and I'm going to be explaining. I'm going to be rebuilding this from the bottom up with you guys, but I first just wanted to show you how it works, and I'll give you an example of how it works in a natural setting, in a very, very close. Very, very close. There's a few ways you can read XML files. You can use the MonDevelop, or you can actually use XML Notepad. This is what I honestly rather using. It's a little nicer. And it shows you the whole parent-child relationship thing very well. So we have our monster name, our monster HP, XP, is scary, and our type. There's many different variables you can use for this. Many different variables. But a few ones I'm using are the type, the type, a boolean, a float, an integer, and a string. You can't use things like vector 3s. You would have to do 3 different integers or 3 different floats or whatever. I believe you can use doubles and other stuff like that. There's many ones you can use, and you can obviously use enums, so it means you can kind of use your own types. But enums are basically just integers, so to a certain degree. So what are these things here? These are me naming it, so it means that I can actually put my dog down. She's been barky. No, she's just gonna bark if I put her down, so I have to hold her down. So we can call this an XML, what's it called? Attribute, I believe, or element, damn it. Let me just got it. I had this and I've totally forgot it. What they're called. Save and load from XML, that's what we want. What's it called? Keymoon. That's not what I wanted. Nope. I had it. Apparently now I don't. Editing an XML file, that's what we wanted. No, that's not what we want. Here we go. Okay, XML attribute, I was right. Attribute, there we go. So this is where we can call it, and this is where we can say, hey, this is going to be our monster name of monster. Now, it doesn't like spaces, but it's fine to have them, if you can understand what I'm saying. So if we have spaces here, regardless, when we make this change, we would either have to open this up and change this here to name a monster, or we could remove it here. Alright, so when we load it and we deload it, you see that when we open this up, we get name of monster. It's still spaces, right? But it's just a bit, you know, you see how it looks a bit nicer? So we could do a few other things, such as we could just go, okay, well, maybe the best way of doing it is just this way. So I'll show you what happens if you make a change and you don't save it. It will load it in. It actually may work. Oh, it actually didn't, because see, it's still, this is still here. So we actually gotta make sure we delete this. Otherwise, it will still stay. We will sync. And see, name a monster. So whenever you make a change to how you're handling your XMLs, make sure that you obviously delete your file, and that's going to have problems. So that's why XML is not always the best solution, because if you're doing stuff like that, it means that your users, you really have to stick to one set of rules for how you handle your XMLs, one set of names, one set of everything. Otherwise, when you make small changes, it can break everything, right? So you just got to be careful with that stuff. I mean, this looks a bit nicer. Name a monster better than, but some of these variables are quite nice. But sometimes they make it a bit like not intuitive enough, and people will be like, "Oh, what does this actually mean?" You know. And so this way it allows you to add a little bit more meaning to your thing. And I'll show you what happens if we open up in our XML Editor, which is most people would be using. We see that this is name a monster. It's a bit nicer than monster name. Monster XP, monster is scary, whatever, right? So guys, I'll show you how the application works, and we'll get right into it. So starting off, we have our this, and we will start off, and we only have fire because that's default. It should be none is the default. For some reason, it's setting it to fire. I will quickly fix that. I know why it's saying to fire, because it's the first one. Monster type is equal to none. There we go. Yeah, here we go, none. So let's say we want to have a new monster. His name is Bob. He's got 100 HP. I wouldn't do something like this in your engine because there's a lot of workarounds to make this actually work. It's not too bad, but there is a decent amount of workarounds. But you would load your data in, but it's a bit tricky to allow them to edit it inside the program. I would just say not to do that, but we can still do it. Like this index is fully workaroundy and stuff, so that's annoying. So we'll just do that. You know, and then we'll say his name is, let's say we'll enter JD, just for example. It enters everything else but this and says, hey, JD isn't in the enum list. So we are, okay, fire. And that's due to a catchphrase, and we've got a try and catch block here. If you didn't have this, it would pause the game, like, or even basically stop the game from running and go, hey, there's an error, you got to fix this, and that's not what you want. So we just put a little debug log, and then just go, hey, there's a problem here. Right, we could save it to a log, we could do whatever we want, you know, like a little text document or something. These text documents are very useful too, but XML allows us to actually do variables a bit nicer. So here, wait, you notice it actually saved it. That's great, isn't it? So we'll save it, and we got a new character here, and we can press new, or we can just press the right button, and it automatically does it for us. That's pretty cool. So we'll have a new character, he's Ice, his name is Fred, he's got, I don't know, a bunch of HP, 92, and he's quite scary. Right, then this guy is not very scary because he's only got minus 10 HP. Type is going to be grass. His name is Fred. XP is. You may ask, but what happens if we put a number that isn't valid? Well, it's just not going to enter it, right? It's just not going to count it. So we do that, it's just literally just not going to count it. So that's quite good. It will just set to default values. That's quite cool. Next, we've got our last one, and I will just leave this one empty, just for example. We'll get save, we'll enter, exit, we'll go up here, go back down here. Sometimes you have to re-import. Oh, here it is. So we'll show in folder. We'll edit with an XML document, just for example. And we got a bunch of monsters here. And this is, as you can see here, this is pretty easy to edit, right? It's pretty easy to understand, pretty easy, stuff like this. Let's see, we edit this. But now his name is Bob Lee McFred. I don't know. And there's two Freds. I don't want that. I want one Ian. I don't know. And he's got to have some HP, so maybe we'll have it like 50. And Ian, we'll make it 60. You know. Monster XP. He can have like 1.001. And he's very not scary, and he's got to have a type, so we'll give him poison. There we go. We save it. We load it in, and I'll show you what happens. Well, that's quite easy to edit, but look at that. That's a lot more harder to edit. It's a lot more harder to understand and stuff, and that's why I like using the XML database. It makes it a little bit easier to understand stuff. Now we see Ian. It's changed. McFred has changed. But you can kind of see how it works. So it's a very interesting way. You can obviously remove them too. That's very cool. There is that slight bug where if I add a new one and I remove him, it doesn't actually load the next character. We can easily add that. That's probably just my fault for removing it. Yeah. So we just want to load the monster. Current index. There we go. There we go, and it loads it. There we go. Yeah, so let's actually start coding. So this episode is going to be showing you building this, and then we'll start coding too. Yeah, so there's a few things you guys got to understand that this is going to use a lot of these usings. So make sure you have them. I'm gonna make so just obviously don't put them in now, obviously, but just we'll save them a few times and stuff like that. But they're pretty important, so just make sure you have them. Okay, guys, let's begin. We're gonna move this over here so I can actually make sure I can see, so I got an idea of where I'm going. Otherwise, it's not going to be much use. Because I'll just be like, oh, damn it, what's it called? We'll call this XML Monster Database. This isn't very useful for a game, but you can definitely see. I mean, maybe if you want to have players create their own monsters inside the game, this would be very useful, right? But most likely, all the other stuff is very useful. So there's going to be 2 folders. There's going to be something called a utility script. These are going to be scripts that will basically be workaroundy and not really what we want, but will only be for this kind of thing. So for example, we'll have a default scene. So if I'm going a bit fast, I'll go back to the old project just to show you. I have 2 scripts when it loads. See, I've got XML scripts, which has my monsters and my XML. Then this has my saving scripts, which is very specific. Actually, this shouldn't be here. You could probably put them under one. I mean, obviously you can always, but like I will split them up just to kind of so you can understand that the XML serialization scripts aren't actually objects, so they can't be attached to anything. So as you notice here, when I bring this over here, it doesn't have a mode develop, so this can't be attached. This can only be referenced. Anyway, let's begin. So we can create a new mode develop. Let's sync the mode develop program. Here we go. No, move this one over here. There we go. The dog's going insane. She's freaking out. Okay. We'll make panel. We're just gonna do a very quick arty thing. And we want to create a few game objects. These are just empty game objects, by the way. We want this big, maybe a bit bigger. Could probably make them like 3 big and be happy with that. Yeah, 3 big. We'll have one at the bottom, like this, and that's only 4, and we're gonna have 5, won't we? So we'll make them actually only like 2 by 2. There we go. Okay, and this is gonna be monster name, monster. What's our values? Let's just put them over here. We have a monster name, our monster HP. We have our monster XP. Maybe like the XP they drop, whatever. Monster is scary. And monster type. Now, there's one thing you maybe noticed is the fact that our default value is false for monster is scary. Well, we may not want to have false. We may just want to say it's null. It doesn't have a value. It's not. But if it doesn't have a value, then you'd conclude it's not scary, right? So that's kind of where the false fits in. Because, I mean, to be scared by it, well, that would mean it would be true. There has to be value to that. There can't be just null. Because, I mean, if it's not null, let's say maybe a character runs away from it if it's scary. Well, the fact is, if it's not null, then I don't know, maybe it doesn't make sense to you. I don't know. What I'm just trying to say is to some degree it has to have a value. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Because okay, I'm not gonna try to explain it, but because then you go into weird philosophy things. Okay, we're gonna have a text element taking up about that much, and a input field taking up about that much. Best fit 1 to 300. Don't mean that. Enter name. These are all going to be bulk recorded, by the way. So it means that just keep that in mind, basically. Because with them being bulk recorded, it does mean that sorry. With them being bulk recorded, it means that obviously anything that's in the comment section below that I might muck up probably won't be fixed for a little while. But I shouldn't muck anything up because I've got all the things here. And I actually like these episodes a little bit more than the Mobius series, only because to me these series are a little easier to make, and there's not me sitting there debugging for hours. I still sit there debugging for hours. The serializing script probably took me, I made it today, and it probably took me 3 hours to make. 2 hours, probably less, 2 hours to make. I don't serialize a lot in Unity. I am going to be so. I put it down and instantly she's off again. But hopefully she'll stop. Okay, it's a hot day today. Australia. That's one of the worst things about Australia, is the temperature can change so quickly. It sucks. To type. We have fire, we have water, we have ice. We have grass, we have poison. We have steel. We have ground. And we have none. HP name. The reason it does that weird thing, by the way, is because of when it gets too big, it does that weird thing. So it's just saying that happens with you having nice, with you getting the nice whole, is scary. It's just what saying that you get with having the nice feel that you do get. I'm just going to close the door. And increase the fans. I don't burn up the heat. I'm sorry if those fans too loud. It shouldn't be. It's really loud. I'll turn it down. Okay. Sorry about that. Of course I have to drop everything. There we go, now we're back. Enter name. Enter XB. Enter scariness, I don't know. Let's put it like this. Scariness. No, it's Y. It's a weird word. Enter HP and enter name. There we go. Done. Super easy. Let's begin. Or let's continue rather. Okay, so we want to. This is all what we need? Yes, okay. Should we start coding? I think starting to code is not going to be the greatest decision because we can get the monster script done though. Yeah, we'll get the monster script done. So we'll create a new JavaScript, new C# script, sorry, called Monster. If you do want me to make a JavaScript tutorial, I will make a JavaScript tutorial. It's a slightly different, I will just like get the code and just make the difference. For some reason that wasn't showing up. Regardless, we're not going to use those things because we don't have mono behavior. We're going to apply a few more things. We're going to be using system.xml, using system.xml.serialization, and we're just going to be using system. For some reason that was like that. There we go. And we're going to be making sure this is serializable. If you have not got system here, you have to call it system.serializable, but this is fine. We're gonna have a public string, and we're going to call this our monster name, and we're going to have a public integer and call this our monster HP, public float, and call this our monster XP, our public boolean, monster scariness, no, it is I. It makes no sense to my brain that it's an I. That is like the weirdest freaking word. I don't know, right now to my brain, do you ever get that where your brain's just looking going, nope, that makes no sense for some reason. Enter scariness. And then we want, sorry, just get this up so I can actually see what other variables we're using. And then we want at the top, we're going to make a public enum, and we're going to call this our monster type. Types. Now you're running, you may be running, oh, why do you have it in all caps? Well, it's an enum, so it should be in all caps. That's kind of the rule that goes with enums. Is essentially like classes. I could even have a struct here. I could do many things. We're gonna have fire, we have water, we got ice, we got grass, we got poison, we got none. None's gonna be the first one though. We had still. What else? And ground. There we go. And then we're going to have a public monster type and call this our monster type. There. Now I'm not going to do the whole XML enum thing for these because that's useless. I mean, and it's not useless, it's just like annoying. But I'm going to do it here. Maybe. So here. What's type? Oh yeah, it's in that. So we're just going to give it a name. Yeah. So our name's going to be... What are we going to call our name? Maybe just call it the monster type, the monster fighting type. XML attribute. We can call this our is a monster scary. XML attribute. How XP drops. XP drop. How much XP drops? I guess I could say how much XP drops. To maybe kind of seeing what I'm saying. Is he kind of making it a little bit more easy? Because when someone looks at this, they go, wait, is it the how much XP drops, or is that how much XP the monster has? Monster hit points. Monster fighting hit points, maybe even? Like, make it super explicit. And then the XML attribute, the visual monster name, because you may have other monster names like the in-game monster, you know, like the monster name that your characters uses and stuff like that. I mean, these are pretty self-explanatory, the monster types. No, that's fine. Okay, second of all, Sometimes when it does that, it's annoying. Okay, I think that's it for this episode. I'm going to pass on to the next episode, yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Next time we will be passing on and we'll actually be doing some more coding, actually getting it all working together. Anyway, see you guys next time.